Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Studio Chatter podcast. I'm Craig Reeves. It's been a little while. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to put out more episodes, but people are getting busier these days, guys. And so I can't always have a guest on every week, but we are very, very glad to have this person on, a very talented young musician. And this individual's name is Zof. How are you, Zof?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
I'm pronouncing your name right, am I?
Yes, it is Zof.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so I actually, believe it or not, have not known about you for that long. In fact, I instantly became a fan after I had started to check out your music because my very good friend Magda Helena ended up doing a remix to one of your singles, So Hot. And after that, I ended up just checking out the rest of your stuff. And I have really, really, really liked your music. So congratulations. You got a fan in me.
Thank you. I love Magda too. She's amazing.
How did you come to meet her?
I met Magda online, like so many of us do. So I met her like over the pandemic when she was streaming a lot on Twitch. And I really liked her. It's
funny because during this interview right now, she's streaming right now.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if we finish in time, I can catch some of her stream today. But yeah, I was watching her stream a lot during the pandemic. I mean, we were all locked up and looking for stuff to do. And I really liked her streams and her music. And so we kind of started talking, and she knew some other people that I knew in music, and we just hit it off. And so when I needed remixers for So Hot, she was like the first person I thought of because I really liked her music style, and she's also just a great person. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've always said, Magda's like a baby sister to me. And it's funny because I met her from Twitch as well. I started a Twitch stream myself. It's not going anymore right now. It's kind of on a hiatus, but she was the very first follower that I had on Twitch. And so That's one of the ways in which I met her. So yeah, I have really started to analyze a lot of different producers' background and try to figure out what their background is just by listening to their music. And when I listened to your music, I could instantly tell that you were classically trained because the music that you make is a lot more melodic than most tech house out there. Do you think that that is because of your classical training? Is that a deliberate thing? Do you think that...
I definitely pride myself on that because I know that my songs stand out from others because of that. But I don't think I necessarily like try to do it so much. It just kind of is like the ideas that I have happen to be more melodic, probably because of my classical background. And before I was into dance music, or making dance music at least, I was kind of more doing singer-songwriter stuff. Like when I was a teenager, like I would write music on the guitar. I'm not very good at guitar, by the way. I'm like very mediocre at the guitar, but I would write songs on the guitar and sing them, and it was more like almost like Phoebe Bridgers style, like very sad music. And then I started getting into dance music and producing. I was into dance music in high school, but I started producing in college, and that kind of, all of those different influences kind of trickled down into my productions. So I find myself oftentimes I'll put something melodic in there, or like I'll put too many melodic things, and I have to like pare them back because it's not right for the genre really. But I make a lot of music that's not tech house, that's I haven't released, that is kind of more in that vein, but still electronic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, a lot of times when I come up with too many melody ideas, I'll just save them for some other song. So
yeah, I'm like, that's for something else, like for a side project or something. But it's hard for me to like subtract things from the mix. It's easy to add things on, but it's easy to put too much, I think.
And where'd you go to college?
I went to Evergreen.
Oh, wow.
Evergreen State College. So it's like a liberal arts college in Olympia, Washington.
Yeah, I've heard about that college. Wasn't that the college where the guy oh, what was his name? Weinstein.
Brett
He taught at,
Weinstein.
and yeah.
Yeah, I think Brett Weinstein is one of the biggest pieces of shit to ever walk the earth, personally. So,
Oh, did you know him?
I didn't have his class, but I was at Evergreen when that whole fiasco went down, and basically everything that got onto mainstream news about Evergreen that was negative was a lie.
Oh, wow.
And he used the school for his own profit and put every student's life in danger who was at the school.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, there was an incident where he was accused of racism I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically some students were upset about that, and he like kind of flipped the script and was saying that Evergreen was being racist to white students, which is like obviously dumb. But yeah, so there was a protest at the school where a lot of students were trying to talk to the dean, because the dean like hadn't really done anything in response to these racism accusations, and the news media portrayed that protest as if it was like a riot. But I was working at school when that happened, and I saw the people protesting, and they were literally just like a group of people chanting, asking for the dean to talk to them. So it was like a very peaceful protest. But Evergreen is a super progressive liberal school, so anytime there's any like attention around it, it attracts a lot of bad actors. So there was a lot of people coming to the school that are opportunists to cause trouble that didn't actually go to the school. So that like created this whole media sensation. And then Brett Weinstein, instead of keeping it kind of a school family affair and working stuff out with the administration and students and stuff, instead of that, he decided to go on Fox News.
Oh, Lord.
And say that Evergreen is like some liberal brainwashing society that's racist against white people. And so then after that happened, the school started getting death threats from people, like people calling up the school and saying, we're going to shoot up the school. So I had a final project to present, and my presentation and the whole week of school was canceled because there were threats to the school.
Oh, man. It sounds like he was really doing that for clout. He decided to...
He did, because now he's a podcaster, and he's like in all of those like think tanks with all of those other weird alt-right people.
The intellectual dark web.
Yeah, that trash.
Yeah.
I am so like, this is like one of the most emotional things you could probably ask me to talk about, because
Oh, talk about it. I
hate
don't mind.
him. I hate Brett Weinstein. He's trash.
I don't know anything about him. So like I've heard about him. It's like every time I hear him talk for like 5 minutes, I kind of drone off because he's kind of boring. So
yeah, and he's also like talking straight out of his ass. His whole thing was that like he's not racist because he's an evolutionary biologist and all people are 99.9% genetically the same. So racism like shouldn't exist. And he uses that as an argument for like why we like shouldn't talk about racism, when obviously it's a social construct with social consequences. And the fact that people are 99.9% genetically the same should be a reason to like challenge those biases, right? Instead of ignoring them. But that's not his take. So,
well, I mean, it's kind of like he just said that Evergreen's racist against white people. So clearly he believes that racism exists. It's just that he believes that racism at Evergreen, at least, is against the white students, not the black ones. And I would presume it's because he's white and he thought that the students didn't like him because he was white. I think that might be what's going on.
He did. There was like an incident with a student, and I don't know the details about this because I wasn't in his class or anything, but there was apparently like an accusation of somebody stealing something, like a black student stealing something, and it was not true at all. And that was an issue. And then there was like another incident that happened where he said something in class, or like people like interrupted his class to like confront him about it. And the videos that like got out about that were just like the worst moments of that incident. So it looked like people were like attacking him like without reason, but like it had escalated to that point. Like they'd like asked him to talk and he was like no, and you know, some of his students were like being really defensive on his behalf, and it turned into like a yelling match. And so, you know, the internet makes everything worse than it was in real life. And so like all of the problems that culminated at Evergreen were after he talked on Fox News. Like,
oh wow.
Like when the school was vandalized, like some people came and like broke windows and spray painted stuff on the school. That happened after the media attention. So that was, but then that was framed as if it's like students doing that, when it was just like people coming to abuse the school, basically. Because we've had issues. Evergreen has had issues for a really long time with being targeted by right-wing extremists in general, because Evergreen is like a super progressive school, and also it's one of the gayest schools in the country. Like a lot of people go to Evergreen because it's super progressive in that way, and there's a lot of gay and trans students there. So it's always a target for extremists that don't like that stuff. And like throughout the year before this happened, like it was a regular problem that there would be like racist vandalism around the school, or like people would come and spray paint swastikas on stuff. And like, you know, so we always kind of were on edge of like, there are people that don't vibe with Evergreen, to say the least. And so when he went on Fox News, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that going on Fox News would be speaking to an audience that wishes death upon the students at the school he taught at. So it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man.
The worst part of it, honestly, was having people I know see stuff on the news and asking me what's going on, and them, like, just every piece of information they have being false. Like, it felt like, as a school, we were being gaslit by the news. It was so weird. Even, like, the local Olympia news was not very accurate to what happened, and was all very Brett's perspective of things.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Sounds like a lot of challenges that people are facing over there. Like, seriously. Like, have you had, you know, as a musician and as a producer, like, what are some of the challenges you faced?
Well, nothing as bad as what Brett did to our school, but being a woman in a very male-dominated industry is just inherently challenging. And I'm sure my struggles are different than a person of color or anybody else in the industry who's a minority. But I definitely deal with a lot of people kind of questioning my abilities, or like I get DMs from people that are like, who's your ghost producer, and that kind of stuff, as if like a female brain like can't use a computer. I don't know.
Do women still get those? Like, who's your ghost producer?
Yeah, I mean, not that often, but it's like it's been a few times. I'll get like a SoundCloud message from a profile with no followers that's like, who's your ghost producer?
Wow.
And I'm like, Skrillex is my ghost producer, I guess. Diplo.
Is that what you tell them?
I'll just say some random shit, whatever comes up, or I just won't respond and block them because.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, if that's the full extent of what you faced as a woman, I mean, I think you're doing pretty like, well, right?
And those are small things, but like I feel like the things that are the biggest impacts are things that you almost like don't realize, because it's just like missed opportunities, you know, like you don't know about an opportunity until it's like out there and exists. So like I feel like women get looked over more, and like you look at lineups, and like a lot of lineups are doing better and you see more diversity and representation, but there's still so many music lineups for festivals where you'll look at it and it's like 95% white men on the lineup. And it's like, it's about the music, but like, if it's about the music, there should still be some more of a mix in there, because I know that like most of my favorite artists are women or people of color, or you know, not all white dudes.
I think that has a lot to do with the genre, though, to be fair, because I mean, if
True.
it's R&B, you're going to have more women.
Yes.
I mean, with dance music and EDM, it's going to be a lot of white dudes.
Yeah, and well, but the thing is like, historically, dance music wasn't so white and male.
Oh, no, not at all. I've talked about that a million times on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came from, you know, Chicago and New York and New Orleans, and it was black and queer people who really helped, you know, especially house music, to move up the ranks, right?
Right. So
but
that's
then
why
something happened to where the genre became white and moved to the West Coast.
Yeah, and that's why it's frustrating to see the lack of diversity. Because like, when I talk about this, I mostly talk about like the circles that I am participating in, because I'm not an R&B artist, so I can't really say what that experience is like. But considering the history of like house music specifically, it's interesting to see how whitewashed it's become, and it feels more like bro-y than it once did.
Bro-y,
for lack of a better word.
You DJ as well, right?
Yeah, I am a DJ.
I'm always curious of people's answer to this question, but does your skill as a DJ help you in production and vice versa?
I would say so. I mean, just knowing like how you would like a track to be structured when you're DJing it helps inform at least like how you structure a track when you're making it. I feel like when you're a DJ, like one of the most essential skills to learn in the beginning is phrasing. So getting really good at phrasing, I feel like that helps you imagine like how you'd phrase a song or structure a song so that it can flow well into other sets. And then like with production, like if I'm making something that's got like a false drop or something, or like has an extra bar in there or something before the drop, I'm thinking about like, will this be DJable when I do something like that, you know? So it definitely goes both ways, and one informs the other a lot. And I also consider like, how's the crowd going to respond to this? Like, what kind of energy do I want from this?
Yeah, being a DJ definitely helps you to know what crowds are going to respond to. Because, I mean, you're having to pick songs out for certain purposes. And I know that there are going to be some DJ sets that you will use for one location and then another one. Like, you're not going to play the same set in New York that you would play in Helsinki.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, you're not going to play the same set in Melbourne that you would play in San Francisco, you know? So, I mean, it definitely tunes your ear for sure, I would imagine. And I could think that would help you with your production.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is like, you start to pick up on things that translate well on like a really loud sound system. Because when you're sitting and working in headphones, it's a different experience than hearing it on a big system with subs and everything. So you start to kind of pick up on like what's actually going to stick out on the big system, because like sometimes you do something intricate and it's really pretty and beautiful sounding on headphones, but like in a club it's going to kind of be washed out, you know, or like not stick out. So you kind of learn little things that sound better on big systems.
Do you prefer to mix in headphones or monitors?
I do a mix of both, but I usually do like the majority of it on headphones, and then like I use my monitors as like a reference to see if I'm doing everything right.
What kind of monitors do you use?
I have some Cali Audio LN8 monitors, so they're pretty big, but they're like mid-price monitors, so they've served me well.
And you're an Ableton user, correct?
Yeah.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, I've always been about that Ableton life.
So we ask this question every single episode. We're going to ask it to you. Now, I do have some idea of your background, but how did you get started in music? Because you look really young, so it ain't going to take that long. But I want to get the Zof origin story. How did you go from a little kid playing in the woods to the great producer we see today?
Well, there's a lot of turns and twists, but I started, I mean, basically, as soon as I was talking, I was singing and stuff and dancing. The dancing I was doing badly. I never really got the hang of the dancing, but the singing was good. So I was always into music. And then when I was in like second grade, my parents got me one of those little Yamaha keyboards for Christmas that has like the pre-recorded songs on it. And I started teaching myself to play things off of that. And I taught myself to play like some Mozart. And my parents were like, oh shit, maybe we should get her piano lessons because she's already like pretty good. Because I was doing like hands separately and everything, playing like whole things self-taught.
Oh, wow.
So then I got a piano teacher, and basically was like an obsessed, weird piano nerd for that part of my life from like elementary to like early high school. That was kind of my thing. Like my best friend in middle school was also a classical pianist, and we had the same teacher, and we would like play duets together, and we were just like really into it. And then in high school, I started learning to play the guitar a little bit, and started kind of writing like singer-songwriter music, like I kind of talked about earlier, that I'll never show you guys, by the way, because it's embarrassing. But
now that
probably,
you mention it, everybody's going to want to hear it.
I know.
Now, huh?
Probably somebody from my high school has some sneaky open mic video that they took at some point. But anyway, so I did that, and in high school, I also started getting into electronic music more. Like I started going to shows and stuff. I really liked. At first, I was really into like dubstep and drum and bass, and like one of the first concerts I went to was a Pendulum show.
Pendulum's great.
It's freaking awesome because they did like the live mix and everything. It was so cool, and it was like one of those shows where at the end of the night the ceiling is like raining sweat on you. So then I was like, this is awesome. I love raves and electronic music and stuff. And then when I was like 18, I started going to music festivals and became obsessed with house music. Because my first festival, well, I count this as my first festival, even though it's technically my second festival, was What the Festival, like the very first What the Festival back in like 2000, I think it was 2011, summer of 2011 or 2012, something like that. And that was my first festival, and Claude Von Stroke was playing there, and I had like found out about Dirty Bird through that, and then I was converted from a bass head to a house head officially then. And then, so I was like kind of just like a partier and going to festivals and loved the scene and everything, and was still making music, but I started learning to produce like 5-ish years ago, because I had my like two best friends were producers. So I'd already like seen them use Ableton quite a lot and kind of sat in on them working on songs or even like helped them with stuff up until that point. So when I started learning Ableton, a lot of the stuff I kind of already knew a little bit how to do. And that was basically it.
Did you ever look into going to the Icon Collective?
If I had a lot of money, maybe, but no, that was never really an option for me financially. So I didn't consider it, but it's a cool school. And if I could have, I would have considered it. But my degree is completely irrelevant to music. I got my degree in chemistry, so not using that much right now.
Wow. Well, I mean, at least you finished college. I mean, that is something to be commended.
Yes, I'm proud that I finished, because I also started going to college, dropped out for a couple years, and then went back and finished. So
I didn't finish college. So, I mean, and I was majoring in classical piano and composition. So,
wow.
mean, yeah. Now, you have a record that came out today.
I do,
Hello,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is on a compilation album. It's various artists. It is
On Box of Cats.
Box of Cats. Yeah, Box of Tracks or Box of Cats. It's on Box of Cats, and the name of the compilation album is Box of Tracks.
Yes.
So I got a little bit confused
Volume
there.
7.
Volume 7. Now, I did listen to the track. It's a banger. So you guys definitely need to go check it out. I will have a link to it if you're watching this on YouTube. Some of the things that you do in your production, I want to talk about that. One of the things that I hear is you use that fifth lead a lot, like the fifth lead, that melodic lead that you use. It's like fifths.
Mm-hmm.
You use that quite a bit, and I love that. I think it's so cool because I haven't heard that used the way you do it.
Can you think of like an example?
Yeah. In Hello, it's that main melodic instrument. In the instrument sounds in fifths. It's a lead synth that you use, and you also used it in So Hot too. That da 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 da.
Oh, yeah.
That sound, because you use it in a lot of your productions, and it's very characteristic of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just kind of drawn to that scale mode, so I happen to make stuff in that.
To be honest, a lot of tech house sounds really generic. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I don't like to be so general about it because there's a lot of generic crap in every genre, you know. But I think, yeah, there is a bit of a draw. Like the trend is kind of the more generic stuff right now. But I feel like there's still really good, unique tracks out there in the genre. But I feel like a lot of people want to like go for that vibe that they know works. So a lot of people get caught up trying to like copy certain things from others without like adding much new flair. Like the thing that bothers me about generic tech house is like the overused samples. Like when you hear the same splice vocal on like 10 tracks, like that is just, I don't know, it just sounds lazy to me.
You got to be careful. I mean, the thing is that one of the things that I always tell people is, you know, if you're going to be trying to make commercial music, you got to listen to what's out there, not necessarily so that you can know what to do, so that you can know what has been overdone and what's getting played out, you know?
Right.
Because a lot of times, especially with R&B, and that's the genre that I mainly do, there are so many cliches in that genre. And so when I listen to the popular stuff, I realize that if I'm doing it too, that by the time I come out with my record, it's going to be played out. Like that's going to be like old hat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people think about that when they are making their music. They think, oh, there's that yelling sound that I hear in every other tech house record. Now I have to put that in mind, but they're not thinking that by the time,
and it's already played.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe because I'm like in the scene and I'm listening to that kind of music all the time, that I pick up on that stuff more than like your average club goer would. But at the same time, like I've been out at shows and like heard the same vocal sample in like 4 different tracks throughout the night. And it's like, that's kind of cool. Remixes are cool, like mashups are cool, but like just chill a little bit. Don't use the same thing 10 million times. Like it just starts to sound like what, it's not going to stick out to anybody. Like nobody's going to be like, "Oh, what's that track?" when it's just like an early 2000s hip hop sample on a very basic tech house beat, you know? Like that's not what I'm going to hear in the club and pull my phone out to Shazam. Like,
I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that, by the way. Like when I hear something at like a department store or something, I'm like, oh, what is that? And I'll pull my phone out and I'm sitting there holding it up to the speaker and people are like, what is this guy doing?
Every DJ and producer is definitely guilty of Shazamming at inappropriate times.
Dude, there are so many records that I have come to learn about from listening to Magda Helena's DJ sets on Twitch.
Like, I know, she's crazy. She's got deep crates.
Yeah, I make it a point to have my phone nearby because I know I'm going to hear something that I'm going to want to Shazam.
Yep.
It happens almost every time I watch her streams. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've definitely stolen a couple track ideas from Magda's Twitch streams too.
Yeah. You've worked with quite a few labels. I mean, you've worked with, do you like working with labels more than releasing stuff just on your own independently? And what advantages do you think there is to doing that?
That's kind of a tough question to answer because I haven't released very much independently. But one thing I like about working with labels is that they kind of handle the tedious businessy stuff. Like, you know, they handle like the distribution and getting links set up and like, you know, if you like taking your promo material and kind of making it into flyers or that kind of stuff. The kind of stuff that I don't like to do personally. I like to make the music and then tell people that the music is here. And so it's nice to have a label handle that. But, you know, not all labels are made equal. So some are more efficient and more communicative than others. So that's a drawback because depending on the label and depending who you're working with, it can be more stressful than releasing independently. Because at least if you're releasing independently, you're in control of all of those things. But if you're like emailing somebody every day, like, hey, when's that link going to be ready? Or like, are we good on the release date schedule? Or like all of this, the little minutia that can cloud stuff if they're not the most quick communicators.
What is the process in your genre? What is the process of, do you submit it to a label? Like, what is the process of doing that? Like, just, do you have management that does it or how do you go about doing that?
It just depends. I mean, some labels have like demo submission boxes online and that's how they want you to submit stuff, like no matter who you are. And then other labels that are more exclusive with who they take stuff from, you kind of have to hunt a little bit to find where to send stuff, or maybe you have to know somebody who has an email address for their A&R. Things like that, kind of you need like somebody to vouch for you almost. So it's very much like, it's different for every label. And the other thing is like, I've just kind of started working with a manager. Like I'm not like officially yet, but I'm like in the process of working with a manager so that they also can send songs. Like if you finish a song, they'll be like, oh, I think this would be really great for this and this label. And then they can send on your behalf because they probably have connections to that label.
Do you like having a manager?
So far, yeah. So far, it's been great.
Nice.
And I was approached by like a couple people for management and was like very hesitant on it for a long while. And then the person I'm working with now seems to be really awesome. So I'm hoping that we'll continue doing that in the future.
Nice. So who are some of the dream labels? If you could just think of, I mean, other than like, I guess major labels, like who are some of the labels that you are thinking, man, if I could release something on that label, which labels would those be?
So some label goals I have just in general are Higher Ground for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Space Yacht. Mm-hmm. That might happen, by the way. That's I think in the future, Space Yacht release. And then Rules Don't Apply would be great. That they're kind of a newer label still, but every single release they've had has been awesome. Repopulate Mars has always been on my list of kind of like top tier labels I would love to get on. And Dirty Bird and
Spinning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of the big ones, of course.
Big Bird.
Yeah. Maybe like Desert Hearts. I had my first release a million years ago was on Desert Hearts, but it's so long ago and I was such a baby producer then that I would like to do another Desert Hearts release at some point.
Long ago? I mean, you look really young.
I'm 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You age like black folks.
Thank you. I got good genes.
Have you thought about working with artists?
Like collabing with other people?
Mm-hmm. Like singers and songwriters, like getting them to feature on your music.
Yeah, I have. The thing is that I usually just put my own vocals on my music, which is easiest for me because I'm me and I'm here and I can.
So you also sing as well.
Yeah. So all of the vocals that you've heard in my tracks, almost all of them are me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, by the way.
Even if you hear like a deep voice, that's probably my voice like pitched down a lot.
Oh, nice. I did not know that because I really liked the vocals on So Hot. I really liked them. It was really
that's
good.
me.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of your favorite go-to plugins and instruments when you're producing? Like, what are the things? Because I was watching one of your production videos and you were using a VST called Kick. That was the name of it. Kick 2.
Yeah. Kick 2.
And I was like, I've needed that for a long time. I never even heard of it, but I was like, I'm going to go get that.
So yeah, I love Kick 2. I basically use that for all my kicks. But what I do with that is I'll like find a preset that's pretty good in there and then usually have to tweak it a lot because the presets in Kick 2 are like meh, but it has like good EQ and distortion and everything in the VST. So it's a good starting point, but it can be kind of tedious to build a kick from there. Some people just like to use a sample, but I don't like scrolling through sample. I'd rather like tediously shape my kick perfectly than like go through 100 kick samples.
That's me too. Yeah.
And I like to usually what I'll do is I'll have 2 tracks for the kick where one track is the sub element of it and then the second track is the click. So that helps like mix it better, I find.
Yeah, that's what Magda Helena does as well. And one thing that she does is she tunes her kicks too. And
because she's smart.
Yeah, I've been doing that lately and it has really changed the game for me. So,
it makes a big difference because if your kick is out of tune, then you can have like some phase distortion and stuff with other things in the mix. And it's like, it's not even like something that you really consciously hear. It's kind of like it's like kind of psychoacoustic how it influences it. So if your kick is tuned, it makes everything else brighter and sound cleaner.
Yeah. So this is going to be kind of, I guess, a philosophical question, but what advice would you give your 16, 17-year-old self?
I would tell her to stop giving a shit what other people think about what you're doing, because
that's impossible though.
It is impossible, but if I had like been able to see future me, I probably would have been a little bit better at it as a teenager at disregarding people, because there is a lot of, being a teenager is hard in general, and you don't really know what's going on and you're insecure about everything. So I would just tell my teenage self to not worry so much what other people are thinking, because I really was like, I was worried about everything. I was worried if I wore mascara one day and then didn't wear it the next day that people would be like, whoa, what's wrong? Like like little things like that are stupid. So if I had just not given as much of a shit, it would have been a lot better. But I think that was mostly at school too, because like outside of school as a kid, I was doing my thing. It was just like feeling judged by peers, So I would tell myself that, like, you know what, most of the people that are mean or that suck right now, you're going to be way cooler than them later. So don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
it's funny because I'm pretty sure that like most high school kids would look at somebody like you and be like, wow, she's so cool. There's no way she got bullied in school, or there's no way that she felt insecure, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think everybody does in high school. Even the people that seem like they have everything together, I feel like they're
Yeah.
they've got their insecurities too because they're kids. So
Yeah. And look, a lot of grown folks they have a lot of insecurities too. I mean, I've
yeah,
met celebrities who have deep insecurities, like they are nothing like they are in the public eye. So it's something that will carry on into adulthood for I think most of us.
yeah. I mean, I definitely still have to remind myself to be myself, especially after, like, through the pandemic and stuff, like being at home so much and like not in social situations and stuff, kind of having to relearn, like, who am I when I'm like doing things again, like
What do you like to do for fun? Like, what do you like to do outside of music to kind of keep you inspired?
I like to go on trips and hang out with my friends, and like I really like going camping in the summer because in the Northwest it's kind of like cold and wet here most of the time. So when spring and summer rolls around, everybody is like, get outside as much as you can. So I really like to go camping in the summer with my friends and just like unplug from everything. And I
Yeah,
like to,
you're based in Seattle, right?
yeah,
Oh, that is a beautiful part of the country.
it is. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
But the one thing I hate is that it gets dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the winter. But it gets dark at like 10 p.m. in the summer, which is really nice.
Yeah, yeah. Like we went to Seattle in the early 2000s, and I remember we saw Mount Rainier and it was gorgeous. And then we
Yes.
went out to Orcas Island because there was a friend of mine who lived out there. Just beautiful, beautiful part of the country. And the food is good too. Like, I did not expect for the seafood in Seattle to be as good as it was. But man, some of the best seafood.
It is. It's funny too because like I forget that we have really good food here, and then I'll go to other places or like more like away from the coast, and I'm reminded immediately that I need to be very grateful for the food that we have here because
Have you been to the South?
I have not. I have not been to a lot of the United States, so it's most places are on my list.
Yeah, the South, the food is really good, but it's really bad for you.
That
So, I
sounds
mean, that's
like
the
my
thing with the
kind of
South.
jam. I love Southern food. I've never had Southern food like in the South, but like
Yeah, like soul
I
food and stuff like
yeah,
that.
I love
Yeah.
that stuff. Like if somebody is like, "Do you want to go get chicken and waffles?" I will always say yes.
Oh, wow, you are country. Chicken and waffles.
I don't know why. I just it's
I don't know
tasty.
what it is about chicken and waffles, but it just
It's magic.
works. I don't know what it is. It's weird.
It's the
It's just
sweet and
magic.
salty
Yeah.
combo.
Isn't that weird?
It's delicious. There was this food truck that I don't think exists anymore, but it was here in Seattle that was chicken and waffles on a stick. So they
Oh,
like,
what?
yeah, they had like a fried chicken piece, and it sounds like weird, but it was like really good quality. And so they had the fried chicken on a stick, and then they would dip it in waffle batter and put that like on a waffle iron, so that you would have
Wow.
like it looked like a waffle on a stick, but inside was fried chicken, and then they'd like drizzle the syrup and stuff on it. It was
Oh, wow. You know, these
really
are
good.
black folks doing that, were they?
I
Those are some
honestly,
black folks doing that. Come
I
on.
probably, I don't remember honestly. I just remember the
Wow.
waffle on the stick, and
Was it good?
it was so good. I got it like 2 days in a row because it was at like a farmer's market near where I worked. Like they had food trucks and stuff, so I went and got that.
What is the most interesting thing that people would be surprised about you to know?
Oh, that's hard. I am, well, I'm kind of shy in real life, actually. Like
Really?
we're talking like on a computer, so that's like easier for me for some reason, but I'm kind of shy in real life, and I more often than not on the weekends I'm probably like playing Overwatch or like petting my dogs and watching a movie.
That's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise, but I mean, like, okay, what's the weird thing about me? I can juggle.
You can juggle?
Yeah, I
really?
can juggle.
How good
like,
are you?
I'm pretty good. I can juggle like juggling clubs and like pass them with another person.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's a
I would
weird
not have
fact.
gotten that. Video games, I definitely would have gotten. You know, young woman, green hair. Yeah, like I would have thought gamer for sure.
Yeah, I'm just kind of a nerd, so that. But yeah, I can juggle. I learned to juggle like at music festivals because one of my friends is really good at juggling. Like he's way better than me. Like he can juggle like 5 things at a time and like behind the back and do everything you can imagine. But he taught me how to juggle like pins and pass them and stuff with other people. And for a while I went to a juggling like club where it was me and my friend and then like a bunch of like 50-year-old dudes that were really into juggling. So it was fun. I learned a lot. Those guys were really good at juggling too. We would play this game where like you would like juggle while walking around and you'd try to like knock other people's pins out of the air with your pins without dropping yours. And I was never very good at that because I was playing against pros, but it's fun.
Did you ever get into Magic?
Magic the Gathering? I personally...
No. I'm talking about like magic, like magician magic.
Oh, like magician stuff? No.
Yeah.
No, but that's cool.
Because
cool.
I mean, there's a lot of people who juggle and then they get into magic and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't have like...
I guess I'm thinking of Penn Jillette because Penn Jillette also juggles and he's also a magician.
Oh,
so
that's
I guess
cool.
I was thinking of it like that, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't like... My path to learning to juggle was more like through, like, kind of like as like a flow art type of thing, you know? It's more like through festivals and stuff. So I didn't really go down the like magic to juggler pipeline.
Oh, I see. So what can we expect from Zof in the future? Like, what do you got going on? Or, you know, is there any plans or what's going on?
Well, I just got word about a potential San Francisco show coming up soon in April sometime, but it's not confirmed yet, so don't quote me on that yet. And then I have like a ton of music that is waiting to come out. I have a couple releases planned. I have a remix that's supposed to be coming out at the end of this month on Brooklyn Fire. And then I have a track that will probably be on Space Yacht in the future. And then I have like a ton of collabs that we're shopping out right now. But I just finished a collab with Luke Andy, and I have a collab EP with MFS Observatory, who they're the ones that have the label that So Hot came out on. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of looking for places to send those. But I have like my library of unreleased music is starting to stack up. So I will definitely have the ideal rate will be like a release per month.
Yeah, that's me and you both. I mean, just like sitting on so many tracks, you know. Any dream collabs you have? Like anybody you want to work with?
Yeah, I would.
I mean, obviously, I guess obviously the big names, but I mean like anybody you're really wanting to work with who you feel like you could work with, or like anybody you want to work with again or something like that?
Well, honestly, I really liked working with everybody I've recently collabed with. So I would work with all of them again. But somebody I haven't collabed with that I would love to is Vanessa. I would love to do a collab with Vanessa.
I'm not familiar with Vanessa.
Vanessa, like VNSSA.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that person. I need to acquaint myself with her.
Gotta look into it because she's awesome. But But she's definitely up there. And then like, who else? Like Maya Jane Coles would be like a dream collab too.
What about Dear Evergreen?
I don't know.
Oh, Dear Evergreen was on this show. Dear Evergreen's great. She's fantastic. Yeah, she's also good friends with Magda Helena as well.
I'm looking her
Dear
up right now.
Evergreen's
Oh,
great.
I have totally seen her before, and now
Mm-hmm.
I am. Yeah, and she's a songwriter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's fantastic. And then Ranger Trucco.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
He'd be great. Like y'all would sound really good together. Like y'all styles would really work well together.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but that would also be a good collab. Now it's just a matter of making time for all of the collabs.
Yeah, that can be a little hairy because I'm actually working on a track with Magda Helena myself. We're collabing on a record, so yeah.
I would definitely want to hear that.
Yeah, it's really good. I really like it. She's a phenomenal producer, so yeah, we're really excited about it.
Yeah, she's so good. When she remixed my track So Hot, I was like, dang it, Magda. I kind of knew you were going to do this, but it's better than the original track, so.
You think so?
Well, I'd heard my version a lot more, so hers was more exciting by the time. Honestly, all of the remixes, I was like, oh, wow, they did this. Like, I should have done that in my original one. But, that's why you do remixes, so that you get the...
and the thing is, she played the remix for me long before I ever heard yours because I didn't hear yours until it came out. But she played the remix that she did for me. And so I was very curious as to what the original would sound like. And I finally heard it. I was like, yeah, they're very different. And I was like, wow, they're both bangers. But for different reasons. Like you both have different sounds, but you're both awfully talented. And it was an honor to interview you both.
Thank you.
Zof, this has been great. I know you're going to make it very far and you're already killing it. And you're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for coming on this podcast with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really good to meet you and talk with you, Craig.